the Vikings got the day rolling, because it was around noon, nothing had happened yet. Are we gonna come on? Are we gonna do anything? Is it over? Are we just gonna watch the clock tick toward 4 p.m. Eastern without any additional trades? And there had been some noise about T.J. Hockenson being traded by the Lions. He's in his 4th year. They've picked up the 5th-year option, almost $10 million. The Vikings inherit that fully guaranteed salary, but the Vikings swoop in an intra-division deal.
Whoa! Oh,
they're not unprecedented. The Vikings and the Lions have done business in the past, but they're doing business here. And here we are.
Here we are.
Well, you know what? Hey, they did the trade back on draft day that allowed the Lions to move up to get the fast receiver from Alabama. I'm not going to just make up a name like others would do and act like I know what I'm talking about. Jamison Williams. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me as to his name. Out of sight, out of mind. But T.J. Hockenson now goes to the Vikings from the Lions. We have seen flashes of greatness. They weren't using him as much this year as maybe they could. He had that one monster game.
Right.
Just incredible.
Right.
Incredible. You put him on the field with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Now, look, you got a lot to do to get this guy up to speed in a new offense.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of tight ends that can do this right here. This is where he's special.
He's incredible.
Right. He's got big-time ability. And again, I think, another guy like we talked about with Bradley Chubb or Chase Claypool, and it fits it just fits what you guys want to do up there in Minnesota, Mike. Run the ball. Okay, he's a pretty good run blocker. He's a very good run blocker. And then he's going to be a pain in the butt in the pass game. I mean, he can do it all. Size, runs really well. And then you couple that with your guys' run game up there and Dalvin Cook and Thielen and Jefferson. It's just the right combination you want to have with your Kirk Cousins at quarterback. It really is. So, kudos to Minnesota. I think that was a big move. It takes their offense, in my opinion, a little bit into another stratosphere here. This guy's got, I think, top 5 tight end ability in the NFL. And now he's in an offense that I think really fits him. And I would be shocked if this doesn't work out and really help out the Mike Florio Minnesota Vikings.
Stop. Just stop. He looks like the logo, too. Which
he does. You're right.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
He had 8 catches for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Seahawks. It was a game that the Lions ultimately lost 48-45 back on October 2nd. But he was incredible that day. And this is an opportunity for him. And it also closes the door on Irv Smith, Jr., who had his season last year wiped out due to a knee injury. He suffered a high ankle sprain against the Cardinals, out 8 to 10 weeks. Given that the Vikings are on the hook for a fully guaranteed $9.632 million for Hockenson next year, there's no way they're going to bring back Irv Smith. He's going to hit free agency, and they'll backfill the position with younger, cheaper guys at tight end behind Hockenson. But they're making the commitment. This is a foundational piece of the offense. This is the guy that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the new GM, and Kevin O'Connell, the new coach, want. It's obvious. This is a guy they've been eyeing. This is a guy they've been coveting, and now they have him, and they pair him with Jefferson and Thielen, KJ Osborne, a very underrated third receiver, and the offense isn't going to be any worse because Irv Smith hasn't done coming into the season. Irv Smith could really pop this year in that offense, and it hasn't happened. So they make the move, and now we've seen enough from Hockenson to know he can get it done.
Again, you got it done, and I think I really look at him in a lot of ways and think he's got a lot of George Kittle principles, which again fits within this, McVay, Shanahan type of scheme. There's great value there. And not only off the boots and the play actions is he going to be really good because he's a legitimate blocker, but he can move him around. He can stand up as a slot receiver, and he's athletic enough to beat people off the line of scrimmage that way. So incredibly versatile that way. And I think just fits in the mold of, the Vikings seem like they want to be, 2 receivers, tight end, 2 running backs, and play traditional type of football. And if you're going to play that style of football, this is the type of guy that, really fits in there and makes life hard on the linebackers when you're going, oh, no, it's Dalvin Cook coming at me with the ISO. Oh, wait, They didn't give it to him. Oh, no, there goes Hockenson. He ran by me. It's just that's where it really works and makes a lot of sense. So big move for the Vikings. It really is. I wasn't sure they were going to – it tells you how they view themselves right now and that they think they got a chance here to really be one of the powerhouses in the NFC.
You wonder if they would have done the deal if Smith hadn't gotten injured.
Yeah, I hear you.
Would they have pulled this trigger without the Smith injury? And they kept a lot of the details about the Smith injury under wraps to keep the price down. There was less of a sense of desperation of, oh, crap, the Vikings need to add a tight end on deadline day. And it wasn't a huge investment. It's a flip-flopping of picks, and we'll see how it goes. This was partially the Lions selling off $9.6 million in cash.
That's what it was, right?
For a guy that they've decided moving forward they're ready to move on. I'm surprised they came to that decision. I am too. But it's the Lions. I'm sorry, but it's, Lions fans were complaining yesterday, and I tweeted, hey, look, the one common thread for this team back to 1963 is ownership by one family. And dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things, and dysfunctional teams have dysfunctional owners, and they never get called out for it. They never get criticized for it. They never do anything that's so over the top that attracts widespread ridicule and scrutiny. But I'm sorry, from William Clay Ford to his widow to their daughter, it's just not working. And at one point, Bill Ford, the son, was part of it and was trying to take over, and he got fired, essentially kicked out of the operation by the family. At some point, and what can you do as a fan? What can you really do? We saw the revolt with Matt Millen. That was the one time when it started to really coalesce.
Yeah.
That maybe they should just sell the damn team. But you're shouting into a void when you want ownership to sell. Because you know what? Even though ownership may not be winning enough games for your liking, it still continues to be a kick-ass investment. With all the money that is shared via the TV revenue and all the other revenue that gets carved up among 32 teams, who cares if nobody's at the games? We're still making money.
They are.
And it's hard to convince any owner to part ways with that investment until they just get to a point where they just think they're wasting their time. But after 60 years, you would think the Fords would have gotten to this point a long time ago. So,
I know.
Lions fans, and every reboot, we get excited for the Lions. Every time. They're bringing in Matt Patricia. They're going to do it the Patriot way. Well, that didn't work. Dan Campbell, this kneecap-biting, rough and tumble, Chris Spielman, that's going to work. That's not working. Before that, Jim Caldwell was working. That's the thing. When they periodically stumble into a situation that works, they don't know enough to keep it going.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Lions fans.
I feel for it too. They love football up there. We know that. I mean, it's a rabid fan base. I mean, it is in college. It is for the pros. And I feel for it. I do. Detroit, it's a great sports town. And honestly, I want it to work. It's the Ford family, and it's Detroit. It just seems like it should work and make sense. There's so many things there. You know me, Mike. First thing I want to do is go, let's rebrand. Let's change the uniforms, all right? Let's give it a whole new look. I think it might be time.
Go back to the 70s.
Do something.
Go back to the 70s.
They
Get rid of the stylized, goofy-looking lion. Go back. Embrace a traditional look. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Or take the logo off altogether.
Exactly. Wear those silver helmets.
When they showed up on Thanksgiving with just the silver helmets.
Exactly. So I'm with you, Mike. And then again, with this move, too, it's also just, it's a little bit like, you wonder where they're going. That's what I thought. Just like, wow, this is one of the better players on their team. I'm kind of surprised they're letting this guy go. But I know they got some offensive linemen that maybe are on the radar to where they got to pay. They do have two good tight ends behind him to where maybe they looked at it to go, wait, we think we got guys here that, maybe aren't as good as him, but can at least, we're not like, oh, wow, what a drop-off. Between Wright and the kid James Mitchell, who I love coming out of Virginia Tech, he's really talented. I think maybe that's part of it. And then, Mike, I also, like you said, the money off the books, knowing they might have to pay him a big-time contract, and they're a team that, I mean, come on. They got to spend some freaking money this offseason. They got to. You watch Detroit. I watched that tape yesterday, and I just sit there again. I find myself going, yeah, their defense and the coaching, it's not great, but, which one of these players is really supposed to do something? Who is it? Who's really that good that you think is going to slow down Tyreek Hill or Waddle or make a play in the backfield other than Aiden Hutchinson? Now, there's nothing there. There's nothing. So that's where you look at it, too, and go, yeah, they hopefully they're doing this because they're going to splurge this offseason and start getting some players in there, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that can help their team out.
You wonder whether or not that splurge will be preceded by a new head coach. Will Brad Holmes stay as the GM? Will Chris Spielman remain in this position of high influence and trust? I assume that Chris Spielman would stay. I think it's going to be hard for Spielman to fire Dan Campbell. I think back to talking to Rick Spielman, Chris's brother, about this after the 2021 draft. And I think it all came up because I asked if the Vikings get a dispensation from any kneecap biting since Chris and Rick are brothers, because that was the Dan Campbell catchphrase from his introductory press conference. And Rick said to me, when my wife saw that press conference, she said that is exactly the guy Chris would hire to be a head coach. So, the Spielman mindset oozes out of Dan Campbell. That's what makes it harder to handicap whether or not the Lions will give up on Dan Campbell after only 2 years, but he's only won 4 games in 2 seasons so far, and the Lions are the Lions again. And this is why. This is why owners don't want to push out Daniel Snyder. They like having bad teams with bad owners in their midst. You can cross off that team. You got to win anytime they pop up on your schedule. The good owners love having some of these dysfunctional teams around, and the Lions continue to be dysfunctional. One more thing about the Packers.
Yeah.
I saw a great meme yesterday of the Charlie Brown Halloween trick-or-treating scene where after every house they go to, Charlie looks in his bag and he got a rock. and the kids are saying, and one of them has the Viking logo, I got TJ Hockenson. Another kid with the Bears logo, I got Chase Claypool. And then Charlie Brown with the Packers logo, I got a rock.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.